Hi, this is Martin with My IELTS Tutor. I want to thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to continue our discussion about Section 2. I'm going to go more in depth on the question types. So let's begin. Now, with Section 2, there are basically three common question types. You could get other question types for Section 2, but you have three that are very common. These are map labeling, multiple choice, and matching. Those, again, map labeling, multiple choice, and matching are the three most common question types you will get Section 2. So let's take a closer look at these. Now, before we begin, there are some key points that you want to consider for Section 2. First, you will hear a lot of information, and the answers are likely to be names and locations, product information, or information related to a particular place, object, or exhibit. Now, most of the questions will focus on facts and facts only. You want to take time to read the questions during the time provided. And while it's not difficult, you should be focused and pay attention. This is crucial when it comes to map labeling because you can easily become confused and lose your way when you're trying to label the map. So be focused. Now, let's take a look at map questions, map labeling. Here you have a map of a factory. You have 10 different areas that you have to label. And so you have some clues here, such as the factory, streets, reception area, and things like that. So you have to label each of these. You have 6 questions here, 15 through 20, and you have to label each one, coffee room through boardroom, with the appropriate letter of where that is located on the map. So now, there are key points for map labeling questions that you want to consider. First of all, the portion of the audio for these questions may seem like a guided tour, especially for maps. So the map is going to be more, if you have a map question, it's going to be like a guided tour. Someone's going to guide you around the area. So it could be within a building, it could be without a building, say like a park, or it could be like a certain part of town. So, certain section of town involving several city blocks. Answers are in order as presented in the audio. You want to take notes as needed. Be aware that you will hear extra information that won't be related to any of the answers. So keep that in mind. You want to filter through that and then listen for the answers. Now, general tips and strategy for map labeling are as follows. Number 1, read the question and look at the map prior to listening. So make sure you do that. You want to check locations for each number on the map or diagram or plan. You could have diagrams or plans as well, but map was the more common of the three. You want to consider any vocabulary that could be used to describe locations, such as next, east, west, on the left side, on the adjacent to, for example. You want to look for any arrows or compass, especially for maps, because this will indicate directions for you. While listening, pay attention to directional language. And don't be distracted and pay attention. Finally, be focused. Now, let's take a look at multiple choice questions. Now, multiple choice, you could have there are 2 different types of multiple choice. You have single option multiple choice with 3 options, or you have list type multiple choice where you have to input more than one option. In this case, in the example here, we have 2 options out of 2 options that are correct out of 5. You could have 3, 4, 5. I've seen even 6 options. List multiple choice. Now, the key considerations for multiple choice are, first, look for a title for the questions. Not always, but sometimes you might get a title. The titles give you an idea of the situation in the audio that involve the questions, and they help you understand that portion of the audio, the questions, and the options better. You want to read the question in the audios. You want to mark options that are similar, because one will be a distractor. So sometimes you may have two options that they are very similar to each other. One is a distractor that's designed to make you think that that's the correct option. So you want to be careful. Then you want to look at keywords in the question and the options. These are your clues for the answer. Then you want to come up with synonyms for keywords. Now, all the answer options are likely to be mentioned, but only one option is correct for single option MCQs, or the number of options specified in the list for a list MCQs. Now, keep in mind that the first answer is not necessarily the correct answer. That's right. So, the correct answer could be the second option or the third option. So you want to keep in mind that it's not always the first option, first answer that you hear. Don't mark your answer immediately when you hear it. What you want to do is put a tick mark on the correct, what you think is the correct answer, and then listen to make sure that's correct. Then you want to cross out the incorrect options. And then don't be afraid to mark your paper in this way. It doesn't matter, it's the question paper, not the answer sheet. So now, matching questions look kind of like this. You have a list of options A through E, and then you have 4 options. You could have more options than you have. So in this case, you have more options than questions, but you could have more questions than options, and that means you would use an options more than once. So those are the 2 types. Now, key points for matching here. First of all, you want to match the options to the questions. That's the goal. Now, you might have one extra option that's used, or you may have so that's generally the case. You may have one option that's not used. Now, this is common, but like I said, you could have more questions than options, so you would be able to use an option more than once. The directions will indicate this. And then you want to write the letter of the option next to the question. Okay? Matching questions, things to remember. The questions follow the sequence of the audio, but the options do not. The questions follow the sequence, the options are rearranged and mixed, so they don't follow the sequence. Always read the questions during the time given before listening. And then of course you want to look at keywords in the questions. Now, you're likely to hear all the options, but it's up to you to decide where they match. And then some options may have similar meaning, so look at the differences. And then listen to the audio while reading the questions. This will help identify the correct answers. Also, pay attention to keywords in the options and questions. Remember, keywords are your clues for the correct answers. Then consider synonyms for the keywords. Again, these will be expressed differently in the audio. Finally, be mindful of distractors. These are often signaled by but or however. Try to predict the answers as well. This will help narrow down and eliminate some options. And then finally, transfer the answers to your answer sheet carefully. All right, so now number 11, if you aren't sure, guess. Okay? And then don't second guess your answer once you write it down. If you've second guessed, chances are your second answer is going to be incorrect. Your first one is correct. And then be focused and concentrate. You have to jumble a few facts and details here between different different questions. So be mindful of that. Now, to review, the key points for section 2 are you will hear a lot of information given. And then answers are likely to be facts such as names and locations, product information, information related to a particular place, object, or exhibit. Most questions will focus on facts. And then take time to read the questions during the time provided. You have 1 minute before the audio starts, so use that time wisely. And while it's not as difficult as section 3 and 4, you do need to be focused and pay attention. This is especially true when it comes to map labeling. So keep these things in mind. And that's it for today. I want to thank you for joining me. Next lesson, we'll continue our talk about lesson 2, and we'll look more closely at each question type, probably individually. So I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for joining me. Bye.